Island Girl, how are you? Jamie Palmer, good to see you. Barbara Waite, how are you? Archie's mom is here. Ann, formerly known as A, good to see you. Barbara Aldrich, how are you? Krista Melinda, good to have you here. Brock Bandy, what's happening? Happy birthday, my brother. Everybody should say hi to Brock. Happy birthday to Brock Bandy. It is his birthday. We won't get to do that again for another 365 days. And sadly, I'm always going to be older than him, but not by much. We were born in the same year, which means officially he's older than dirt. But we love him anyway. We're glad that he is here. We're glad all of you are here. You know something, folks? Every once in a while, you read the title of a video and you think this is clickbait, right? Nobody wants to hear that Tommy is back in rehab. This isn't clickbait today. This is a very, very real title to a very, very real video. Dane, good to see you. How are you? Susie, glad you're here, Susie. Kellyanne, there you are. The Riddler in the house. Joey girl. Cindy G, there you are. Wouldn't be a show without you. Audra, there you are. How are you? Good to see you. Hey, Carlos, good to see you. That's right. Happy birthday. Wendy Ramirez, greetings from sunny California. All right. The other time zone. You guys are on the left coast. I am on the East Coast time now. Different part of the world, but now I am on the East Coast time. Hello, honey. Good to see you. The legend himself is in the chat. Mr. Johnny Scoville, Chase the Heat South America is here. People, I went back to rehab today, and I really did. Well, you know what, Audra? It happens to the best of us. It's easy on this journey that we're on to slip in and out of the funk. If you keep coming back, I promise we're going to get to a point where the funk days are few. And that's kind of a big deal. My actual name is Jolene. Jolene, Jolene. You knew I was going to bust into song if you did that, didn't you? I have no choice. Glad that you are here, Jolene. I have been off of heroin for about a decade. In fact, it's been a little over a decade. It was a decade on the 27th day of June. That is my sobriety date. And it was 10 years rather without heroin. And the farther you get away from that, Carlos says, I feel like I'm not a part of this when I relapse. Well, then you're just not getting it. And I don't mean that in a negative way. You're absolutely a part of this when you relapse. Here's the deal on relapse. Everybody pay attention. One of the saddest things that happens in all of recovery, and then I'll get back to my rehab story. But one of the saddest things in all of recovery is when you come across somebody and they do 5 years of sobriety or 2 years of sobriety or 6 months of sobriety, whatever the case may be. And then you relapse and you do 6 days off the sobriety train. You do 4 months off the sobriety chain, whatever the case may be. The worst story of this is somebody that was on the boat, had 10 years of sobriety and change, and then relapsed and came in and said, I got 2 days of sobriety. Bull stuff. That's not how it works. Here's what you do. Take the last 10 years, right? Multiply 365 times 10. I was told there'd be no math, but that's a lot of days. And then realize that of that, you spent 5 of them using or 4 of them using. You're going to throw away all of that time and all of that sobriety and everything that you learned, all of the times that you successfully said no. That's what builds the road to recovery. That's the bricks that make you into a new human being. I hate to say this because people will crap on me when I do, but relapse is part of the recovery process. It's a fact. Look it up anywhere. Read any book. The only time that you should not feel like you're a part of this, my brother, is if you are not here. If you're not here, you're definitely not a part of this. But if you're here, we have people in the chat tonight who are high. I spent a long time trying to get sober. And if I could do it all over again, I would like to know what day I started taking it seriously, because that's my sobriety date. For real. I don't know that day. If I did know that day, that would be my sobriety date, and I would have counted all of those days, because there was a time where I said, I'm going to do this. And then I slipped probably 10 times, but I was dedicated. I was journaling. I was doing everything that needed to be done to be somebody in recovery. The fact that I was slipping and falling, I was getting back up a day later. Trust and believe, that's part of the journey. And don't discount that. There are such things as fantastic relapses. Believe that. There are wasted relapses where somebody goes, oh man, I used, and then they go, F it, and they spend 2 years getting high. That doesn't count. But a fantastic relapse is where you get your journal out, you write down, this is why I got high. and you list out the reasons. What made you say, I'm going to get high? If you can figure that out, that's a fantastic relapse, because the odds of you repeating that again are slim to none. So trust and believe you're in the right place, and you are absolutely a part of this. In fact, today, you are the honorary biggest part of this. How's that? Don't go anywhere. I have been 10 years sober, and the farther I get away from the shakes, the farther I get away from vomiting and defecating on myself, the farther I get away from that feeling of despair in your soul, where you say, I'm not going to make this. There's no chance I'm going to make this. I'm going to be a junkie for the rest of my life. The farther I get away from that, the less effective I am at what I do. The most beautiful thing about me going back to the rehab center that I went to today, Carlos, thank you for being here. Support's what we do, honestly. I'm not good at anything else. Support I got down. Smack that like button. If you haven't hit subscribe, please do it. I promise you, you'll thank me later. I get farther away from it, and I lose my effectiveness. There is some power in not forgetting what it felt like to need your next shot more than you needed oxygen. You know, it's not a comfortable feeling, so we put it away as fast as we can. And I journal about it, and I do shows about it. But the farther I get away from it, it's this stuff, right? I'm doing it from the cerebral part of my brain. I'm not doing it from the emotional part of my brain. I'm doing it from the upper, the executive function part of my brain, which is fantastic. I sound a hell of a lot more intelligent when I do that. But it's Scooby Lee, good to see you. Hey, Rocket Queen. But it's not getting people the same way. Hey, Jane. It doesn't reach people the same way. When I went back today, a really funny thing happened. When I walked through the front door, David, the guy that runs the place, came up and said, the fellas would like you to talk to them again, if you're okay with that. And instantly I had a lump in my throat. Because last week, I don't remember talking to them very much. I remember hugging a boy who was having the worst day of his life. A guy that was making a sound that most people will be blessed to never hear. It was the worst sound I've ever heard come out of a human being, and I did 13 years in prison. This was the worst sound I've ever heard. It was the sound of a person that only had one relative on earth, and they just found out that person was dead. And they found out that person was dead on their fourth day of kicking heroin. He was at the lowest point that a human being could be at. And it was kind of almost ridiculous, to be honest, because people looked at me like, you know, do something. You're the lifeboat dude, right? Do something. The hell am I going to do? I mean, honestly. So I just went over and hugged them because I didn't know anything else to do. I didn't even speak enough of his language to say something that was going to help. I had a translator, but I'm not usually at a loss for words. So I just held him, and he held me back. He held me back like squirrel does when she sees a dog. Right? And I picked the cat up in my arms, and she goes like this and becomes a part of you. This man held me in a way that no one else on earth has ever held me. Not my kid, not my wife, not my daughter or son. Nobody. It was absolutely unbelievable. And what I felt was somebody that was dying inside. I also felt somebody that was about half as big as I am. Literally. I would be willing to bet I'm 100 pounds heavier than this guy is. And he just felt frail. And he felt hollow. I put my hand on the back of his head to hold him because he kept trying to pull away because he was dry heaving and vomiting. And I honestly didn't give a crap if this guy threw up on me. I just didn't want him pulling away from me. I wanted him to feel human contact. I wanted him to feel somebody that didn't care. Just lost a friend who could not find worth. Take care of yourself, friend. TM, please don't go anywhere. Please. Stick around. If you're feeling lost, this is a pretty decent place to be. I promise. This chat's otherworldly. Seriously, I don't take a lot of bows for what I do here, but I will take bows for the chat all freaking day long because it's an amazing group of people and they lift people up. I get more emails from people that say, your chat has changed my life than I ever get from somebody that says you helped me or whatever. It's the truth. I'm not making that up. Stick around, please. But I put my hand on the back of this guy's head, and I'm not kidding you. The bottom of his neck was at my palm of my hand, and my fingers were curving over the top of his head. He just seemed teeny. And I know that with what was happening in his life, his shoulders were rolling in. You know, we've done shows on this. on what your physiology says about your psychology, but he was making himself considerably smaller than he was. And I would have passed the polygraph test that this guy's 5'6" and he might weigh 100, 110 pounds. I have a video of me hugging him today, and he's about that much shorter than I am. It was breathtaking how tall he was. Couldn't believe it. His shoulders were rolled back. He had a sense of pride. And you know something? That word doesn't translate well into Espanol. It really doesn't. It translates in the Shakespearean sense of the word, right? Where pride leads to a fall. It's never really considered a good thing. It was difficult. And Johnny Scoville, thank God, is sometimes much smarter than I am, because I was talking today and I said, you know, the pride in what these guys are doing. And Johnny goes, hey, is pride the right word? And the translator went, probably not. But he would have translated it that way, and I probably would have offended people. But ownership, right? That feeling of satisfaction that you did something. We talk about making your bed. These guys, while dope sick, are building the rehab center that they live in. And the quality of work is breathtaking. It really is. It's breathtaking. I'm telling you, the number of people that I've worked with who are kicking dope, I've never seen somebody on day 11 that looked like this boy, this young man from last week. But I don't remember anything that I said to the group. All I could think about was this guy. But whatever it was, they wanted me to speak again, and they kind of dropped it on me when I got there. The beautiful thing about that is I've been talking about sobriety for longer than I've been talking about anything else in my life. I can usually sort of move on the spot and do a show. But this was one of those days where I swear to you, I didn't have a thought about what I was going to talk about, but I was not at all afraid to get up there and start talking. And by the end of it, people came up and just said, boy, you know, that was fantastic. I don't think I made a decision to say anything. It was very much like when I said to my realtor, I'm a heroin addict. I don't tell people that. It's not something that comes out of my mouth. And I sure as crap don't tell a realtor before I sign the contract for the house that I'm moving into. Not sure why I said it. And I'm not Bible thumping any of you, I promise. But there are times that it feels like I'm not saying things, but they're just sort of coming out, right? Like it's just happening. And today was one of those days. But I remember some of what I said. And I said stuff that I say a lot on the Lifeboat because it's just so true. Do you know how many people say to me, well, you can't choose your family, right? Because I work with parents whose kids are strung out and they've, you know, stolen from them and their car's gone or their wallet's missing. You know, kids that disappear for 2 or 3 years at a time. And by the time they find them, they realize that the kid's gotten into their bank account and stolen $40,000. And they say stuff like, well, you can't choose your family. You absolutely can choose your family. The noise that boy was making last week, he was making because he doesn't have anyone left on planet Earth that he can call brother, mother, father, sister, anything. There's nobody left. Nobody. So I said today, that's my brother. And I pointed at the legend, right? Johnny Scoville. And I said, you want to hear something really stupid? After a decade or two of trying to get off of heroin, and my brother just praying for me, being disappointed that I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't like for a lack of effort. I wanted to quit. Every single morning I woke up, I wanted to quit. I just couldn't make it happen. You know, it couldn't happen until I got to prison and Q helped me. But Johnny said to me one day, I'm coming out to see you. And I said, man, don't do that. Right? This isn't a good time. I was so strung out. My habit was incredible. I said, this isn't a good time. He said, no, I really need to see you. So he came out to see me, picked him up at the airport. And I was late picking him up at the airport by about 45 minutes. He had to stand outside by the curb because the guy that was going to spit the balloons out of his mouth for me showed up 30 minutes late. And when I got there, my brother said to me, you want it? You high right now? I said, yeah, I just fixed. And he said, you have some on you? I said, yeah. He goes, good, because I'm going to do it with you. I did the dog head sideways thing like this. However, I was such a degenerate junkie that I thought to myself, for the entire time he's here, he's going to pay for my dope. That was the thought. Not, good God, I can't let this happen to my brother. The thought was, wow, I'm not going to have to steal to come up with money for this dope. He's got to have a wad of cash with him. He intentionally got to have it, so because he was going to help me quit it. And after 7 days of using every single day with me, he said, all right, tomorrow's the day. I said, okay, tomorrow's the day. And he got up in the morning, and by noon, he said to me, maybe we quit tomorrow, huh? Remember that?
I do.
And then he tried as hard as I did. And instead of my brother becoming the hero that helped me get sober, I became the guy that helped his brother become a criminal. And I told the story today. And I said, you know, there are a lot of people that disown family members for doing dope. And then you've come across someone who says, I'll get a habit with you to try to help you quit. That's 1 in a million. I won the lottery, right, with brothers. But if you didn't win the lottery with your family, then pick a new one. Because the people that say you can't choose your family are idiots. I'm sorry, they are. And then I pointed to the buildings and everything that had been done. And I said, 1 week, you got all of this done? There was no floor in that place. You know, the bathroom didn't have any fixtures in it. Now it looks like the bathroom of my house. It's absolutely amazing inside. I said, you did all of this in a week. And the laborers are dope sick. I've never seen anything change so much in 1 week as I have this building. And the only thing that changed more than that was the guy that was on his face last week crying. Because he doesn't look like the same human being. In fact, he looks a foot taller. And I want you to know that I've chosen to ask to be his brother. He doesn't have any brothers left. I beg to differ. He's got 2 that don't speak the language very well. And I believe there are 31 others here. Do you know that they don't have enough beds for 32 people? So when this dude showed up, 2 guys went, he can have my bed. For real. And then they took turns watching him while he was in withdrawal because they don't let anybody kick alone. So they did it in shifts. That's brotherhood. That's people that instantly said, you're my brother. And you know what? I used to think, well, it's the brotherhood of dope. Pretty stupid, isn't it? But that's what I thought. I thought, you know, when you're kicking this stuff, that brings you together. That's the kind of thing that can make a person want to help another person. And I'm not thumping here. I'm not. You can believe whatever you want in life. But what brought all of those people together is they got the same father, right? And he's not on earth. That's real. I'm sorry, it is. You need to live life to the fullest because you never know when your time comes. My friend's husband, who was 75 years old, died suddenly in the parking lot of a restaurant, a sudden death. I'm so sorry to hear that, Blitz Blitz. Can we get some ones for Blitz Blitz and for the family of her friend? That's, you're right. You know, there was an old comedian who's now didn't age so well in the Me Too movement. I mean, in the Me Too era. A guy named Benny Hill, but on his gravestone it said, live every day as if it's your last, and one day you're going to be right. I used to worry about a lot of really stupid things. Going to rehab again has had an effect on me, a very different effect on me, for real. For instance, I say rape, I say sexual assault, I say heroin, I say cocaine. I don't care anymore. I don't. We've given up on money coming in from YouTube. It is what it is. On the bright side, there are people out there that buy the stuff that we do for AI, which is going to help offset that a little bit, right? And we're making enough money that it's not going to hurt the visa process. And at this point, that's really all I care about, right? My visa going through is just about everything that I care about at this point, because I have an overwhelming desire to be Ecuadorian. I will always be an American citizen. I was born there, but I want to be a part of this culture. I did some research since last week. I did a research on how people get sober, on how people get sober if they don't go to this rehab. What's the other options out there, right? Because I've been to every kind of rehab you could that you can go to on this earth. I've done Ibogaine, where you go and trip, right? I've been to Betty Ford. I've been to every level and every kind. I've done it in prison. I've done it in the jail cell, just sitting there with no help at all. That's not how it happens here. Do you know how it happens here? They tie you to a bed. I'm not kidding. They tie you to a bed. And if you're one of those people out there that thinks tough love is the solution, I got news for you. Their success rate is less than 1%. It's no joke. People don't take to that. What you determine is that the only people that care about you are the ones that get you high. Everybody else wants to tie you down to a bed and let you crap on yourself and vomit on yourself for a couple of weeks. So this place that is just such an unbelievable oasis is so much more beautiful than you can imagine. And the crazy thing is, the guy that runs this place, he's got journals. He's been journaling for years, which is really cool because I have a thing about journaling. But in his journal, he said he had a dream and saw this place, saw it in his head and drew pictures of it. And now you can stand there literally a decade and a half later and look at the sketch he drew. He's building his dream that he had. And today he got up in front of the fellas and he said, you know what? When I dreamed this, I thought to myself, how am I going to do this? I don't know how to do any of this stuff. You're right, Brock Bandy, how China dealt with them. Not much different. It's horrific. There are places all over the world that treat junkies like animals and allow them to sit in their own filth, right? Because that's what we're worth in the eyes of a lot of people. We're somebody's kids, right? We're somebody's brother or sister. Yeah, dang it. Life, not love. My phone is so used to switching it the other way around. You got this, lady. I knew what you meant. I think everybody knew what you meant. It's good. It happens to me all the time. But this oasis is different. And he gets up and he says to the guys, I didn't know how I was going to do this. I had no idea. But I believed that the people that I needed to make this happen would enter my life. I had faith in that. I didn't know where they'd come from, but I believed that they would enter my life. And then he points at me and my brother and he goes, I don't know these guys. I don't know them. But they've come here out of nowhere to help. And the insane thing is that on the other side of this, we were praying, drop us somewhere where we can do some good. It's enough to give you faith. Honest to God it is. It's enough to give you faith. I am going to prepare what I'm going to say next week. I'm not going to go in there and wing it. I did a pretty good day today. I'm not lying. It wasn't my words. But today was a pretty good day. It's going to be a better one next week. Although next week I probably will do a much shorter presentation because next week they are christening the new building, which was an idea when we showed up. Now it's done, right? Or will be by next week. And they go and they get people who donate flooring. So you got, 60 different kinds of tile. I don't know if Johnny showed you the pictures, but what they do, they crack it all. They break it all up and make mosaics. If they get 6 pieces that all look the same, then those will be laid out in a perfect formation, measured out, and the rest is a mosaic kind of design around it. It's breathtaking. They're taking bamboo, cutting it into strips, a ½ inch wide, putting it on the top of these for the roof. And then they take concrete and they lay concrete along the top of it. And then they put the roof over that. And it's watertight. It's absolutely remarkable what they're doing there with what they have. And I've given to churches my whole life. Honestly, if I wasn't on dope, I was donating to a church. It's just something that I believe in. It's probably not something I'm going to do again. I have nothing against churches. I really don't. But I've never seen my money do something. I told you guys last week, they said, we're $40 shy of having enough piping to get it to the bathroom. But when that comes in and we went, $40, I got you. Right? Johnny pulled out a 20. I pulled out a 20. It's not a lot of money. I'm not saying this to brag. We're just saying that's all it took, right, to get this done. So today we made another small investment in this. And I can't wait to see what they do with it. By next week, that money isn't going to be money. It's going to be part of this most beautiful design, right? Art in adversity. I'm telling you, Montgomery Angel. I'm so happy those men are getting off drugs. A halfway house and a job is imperative. Perhaps they could open a restaurant or a handyman service. Renee B., they are learning a skill. Every single one of these guys are out there getting their hands dirty while dope sick. The guy that I was hugging yesterday was working with concrete and doing stuff like that. You got any idea what a sense of pride does for somebody who's kicking dope? It's what we miss in rehab. It's what we miss when we try to help people. Because I'm all for coddling people. I swear to God I am. I think it's a fantastic idea. I don't want to see somebody tied to a bed. But they're not coddling anybody. They're saying, you want to help yourself? I say, make your bed, right? Make your bed. So I'm out there with a translator trying to explain to these people that science has figured out that a malfunctioning reward center of the brain is what makes us addicts. And that what they're doing every day with rebuilding this place, what they're doing, getting out and digging ditches and mixing concrete, and cutting the bamboo into strips. All of this stuff is getting the reward center of their brain to do what it was supposed to do in the first place. Servitude. Them saying, I'm going to give up my bed to this guy that just got here who lost his brother. I'm going to stay up all night and I'm going to help take care of this guy. Doing that is refunctioning. It's refiring a malfunctioning reward center in their brain. It's a little better than making your bed, right? It's a little better than making your bed. You make your bed, it's fantastic, right? You're going to get into it later that night, but every day you get up, you do that, and it's one thing that's going to start the process. It's a beautiful concept. It really is. It's an absolutely beautiful concept. It's staggering to me that in the midst of dope sick, these guys are gung-ho to grab a shovel because it's restoring a sense of pride. How long has this place been in existence? Almost a decade it's been in existence. But it's been in existence almost like a floating rehab center. It would be here for a while. It would be there for a while. They just got this land, I think, within the last year. And the amount of work that has been done on it in the last 8 months. But everyone there has said something has changed in the last couple of weeks. And it's not me and Johnny. I promise you that's not what it is. But something has changed. And something has changed in these men. And there's just, I sat there giving a speech to 32 guys who had smiles on their face. The guy who lost his brother, you know what? We should give him a name. How about we call him Mac? Right? This guy, Mac, I said to him today, this is really an amazing thing to look at. Don't take this the wrong way, but he has no right being as healthy as he is. It's out of line. It's no joke, out of line. You compare him to anybody else that's been at the exact same place he is, forget the loss of the only family member he has on earth. I'm just talking about what day of sobriety he's in. The smile on this guy's face. And last week we said, buenos tardes. Have a good day, right? You know, good day, good, and to everybody on the way out. This time, because of the speech I made, the first guy that walked up said, adios, mi hermanos. You know, goodbye, my brother. Or gracias, my brother. One after the other. And when it got to Mac, he said it in English. He said, thank you, my brother. Cat hair. They absolutely need to be a part of the network and the community. It's more, or it's more likely they will relapse. Correct. And I'll tell you something else. Last week when we got in the car to come home, the second we stepped away from the minister, my brother said to me, did you notice anything there that made you uncomfortable? And we didn't talk about this in front of you all. And I said, yeah, something made me uncomfortable. Thank you. And freaking cat. He said, what made you uncomfortable? And I described the one guy in the room that made me uncomfortable. And you know why he made me uncomfortable? Because he was using. No doubt. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. And when I started to describe what the guy was wearing, Johnny finished it. He said, yeah, I saw it. He goes, what do you do? Right? I mean, what do you do? So we asked the minister on the way over, how do you handle that? Because I promise you I'm not wrong. I got a PhD in junkie. We're not wrong. And he said, do me a favor and don't approach the young man. Approach the guy that runs the place. So when I got up to make my speech today, I looked out over the room to see if this guy was high today, and he was gone. He's not there anymore. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to pray for him. I hope he comes back. And I hope when he comes back, he's ready to do it. You know what I mean? I really hope that when he comes back, he's ready to do it. Blocked from chat? OMG. There you go. Look at that. Would you look at that? It's difficult to do that if you're blocked from the chat. If you think that everything good going on in my life is happening in South America, it's not. I can't tell you who, but I had a conversation with a young man a couple of days ago from the United States that restored my faith a lot. You know, I come on here and I say one of the problems in the U.S. is that when you talk to young people, there's no respect left anymore. There really isn't. You don't run into kids where you go, boy, everybody seems to have this sense of entitlement. But I talked to a young man who's only a couple of weeks sober off of fentanyl. And just the honesty, it was a beautiful phone call. I talked to the young man for about an hour and 20 minutes. And I hung up the phone feeling high. There's something to this, talking to people and trying to help people. Truthfully, there's something absolutely amazing about servitude, about going out of your way, expecting nothing in return, to just try to help somebody avoid some of the pitfalls that you've experienced yourself. I said to my brother today, it's my new drug of choice. He said, no, it's not. It's been your drug of choice for a long time. And you know what? I got away from it. I really did. I let a lot of things that shouldn't bother me. I let about 3% of the people out there that watch me and know who I am destroy what I was doing with the other 97%. I'm not proud of that. I needed to go back to rehab. True story. I needed to go back to rehab, not because I was getting high, but because the farther I get away from that, the farther I get away from being a junkie, the less I remember what it feels like to be a junkie. And I use that term for a reason. If it offends you, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. I did junk, right? Jonathan, welcome to the chat. I'm glad that you're here. Good to see you. I'm really glad that you're here. Jonathan's a friend. I'm glad he's in the chat. That's awesome. You're not blocked, Owen. But this is really, I'm in a place I've not been in a very long time. Kind of ground zero, right? Sometimes when things are really clicking, they seem to happen without you having to think about them. Doors seem to open that you're supposed to walk through. Yeah. John, you're a good man. Glad that you're here. Doors seem to, sorry? I know. So doors open that you're supposed to walk through, and doors close that you're not supposed to walk through. I don't care anymore. I don't. I did a show the other night, and unfortunately the show got shut down by some developing nation problems with the internet. But I can't begin to tell you you know what, Renee B? That was weeks ago. That was weeks ago. We're partying now. Okay? Don't get hung up on that. For real. I assure you I did something really good in order to have that coming. But there are times where things are just clicking. I don't care anymore. I really don't. I don't care if this generates $1. I got an email from somebody, and I'm not going to put them on blast because I'm really not trying to do that to people. But like I said a few moments ago, I talked to a young man a couple of days ago, and it just sort of got reinforced. But I talked to a young man the other day that was a paycheck, right? There was no money involved. It was a paycheck. I walked away feeling like I got paid. I got an email from someone today, and it was better than a super chat. I promise you. This channel is working in people's lives. Denise, good to see you. It's working in people's lives in ways that it hasn't in a long time. We turned 4 years old on July 31st. And I want to tell you something. In the first 2 or 3 years, we did a lot of really amazing stuff. And then I started concentrating on money. I'm embarrassed about how many shows I did about Sean Puffy Combs. I really am. They paid the bills, made a lot of money talking about it. Got a lot of subscribers. Those subscribers left just as fast as they got here. I didn't start this to make money. In fact, when I started this channel, a whole host of intelligent people said to me, you're never going to make $1. Right? And I didn't give a crap. Once I started caring about making money, this wasn't fun anymore. And when things aren't fun, you don't treat them the same way. I'm having a hell of a lot of fun. And you know something? The doors that are opening, I'm not trying to preach, I promise. But I have no doubt whatsoever that financially everything's going to work out. I don't have any fear about it. I don't. I am really where I'm supposed to be. And you can take that any way you'd like. But I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. If you've never caught one of our morning shows, get over there and catch one, man. Yeah, Todd's right. It becomes a job. It becomes a job. And here's the sad part of that. Todd, you nailed it. Thank you, William. I can't tell you how happy I am. The worst part of it becoming a job, because I don't mind this being a job. This is what I do, right? The problem about it becoming a job is in order to do those shows and sound like you have any kind of authority or that you know what you're talking about and you don't sound like a jackwagon, you got to spend an awful lot of time researching stuff. And if you think that spending 7 hours a day researching Sean Combs and the things that he's done in his life don't take a toll on you, give it a try. And unfortunately, it leads to other disgusting topics. I will talk about Jeffrey Epstein. And the reason that I'm doing it is because there's no justice for the people that Epstein victimized. And until somebody does something about that, I'm going to keep complaining. The gun issue is going to piss off a lot of people. But you know what? We have a problem when 630 mass shootings happen annually, and we consider that a triumph because it isn't 655, which was the high. We've lost our way. When they pull people over and they say, give me your license and registration, and the person goes, F you, pig. Get out of the car. I'm not getting out of the car. You can't arrest me. You can't touch me. We've lost our freaking way. And I'm not kidding you. There's 500,000 videos of people out there doing that every single day. When Johnny Somali is making millions of dollars, desecrating cultures everywhere he goes, all over the planet, we've got a problem. Do you understand? We have a huge problem. B lady, buy some houseplants for the men at Rehab Center. They can nurture, an extension of nurturing themselves. You know what? That's a beautiful super chat. Thank you so much, B lady, and I will do that. You have my word. They built this big arch out of PVC. And it was funny because if you just saw the PVC arch, one of the guys that was standing there was talking about it. And he goes, what's with the arch? I knew exactly what that arch was. I said, that's going to be covered in foliage. You're going to be walking through plants. It's going to be, they got a lake dug out. This is going to be, I can't wait to show you people what this man saw in a dream because it's absolutely breathtaking. It really is. There is a liberation in not giving a crap anymore. One of the worst things that happened was, if you're going to talk about Sean Combs, you're going to talk about rape in every single show that you do. And I'm saying grape, right? Talk about trivializing the worst thing that can happen to a man or woman on planet Earth. Grape, like the stuff that wine's made of, right? Green or blue, grapes. That's horrible. Or trying to come up with all of these different words, you know, so that you keep getting paid by the algorithm. The algorithm can shove it where the sun doesn't shine. When those shows were over, I felt dirty. I felt like a sellout. I felt like somebody that trivialized things that should not be trivialized. Why? Because I needed that paycheck, right? And I started to judge whether or not I was a good person by the number of subscribers that were coming in on a weekly basis. Since the last time I went over to that rehab, I lost 210 subscribers, and I've never been happier. I swear to God, I've never been happier. Johnny's happier. He lost 500 since then. 550? That's my man. Now we fist bump it, because I promise you I'm not losing any of the people that are supposed to be here. TM says, God bless you, Tommy. You do the God's work. You know what? I'd like to believe I'm doing God's work. I feel like God's doing work, and I'm getting to sort of tag along at this point. Honest to God, I feel like I'm just in the right place at the right time, and I got the best seat in the house. That's kind of what it feels like. I mean it. Bohemian Luciferian Witch says, I mentioned your videos and past to my guys in the rehab I work at. I've heard good things. What a cool thing to say. Man, I love that. I really do. Tim, thank you for the support. You have no idea what that means to me, and I mean that. You have no idea what that means to me. And I love that you're talking to the people in the rehab about it. The beautiful thing is, this isn't me, I promise. I feel like, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I'm not trying to be mean in any way, but I feel like I could come out here and go, wah. The chat is so unbelievable. If you've never seen one of the morning shows, come by. If you're having a bad day, I could come on here and do this one for an hour because the chat is going to lift you up. And by the time you leave, you're going to feel better about life. That's the truth. Shane says, Tommy, thank you for the videos on journaling. My sponsor highly suggested it for mental and spiritual growth. He and you are so right. Journaling put me in a, look at that, centered and balanced liberation within me. I'll tell you something. It absolutely changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And I fought it tooth and nail. There is nothing on earth I fought harder than journaling. And the reason is, I don't have a problem saying this anymore. This is all new, true, really new. But I'm wildly learning disabled. I don't like looking at the things that I write because it looks like a sixth grader did it. In fact, it looks like a sixth grader with a learning disability did it. I don't care. Once I got to the point where I didn't care about that, because that doesn't make me intelligent or not intelligent. But there was a period of time where that made me feel less than. Pokemon, I'm glad you tuned in also. Perfect timing. I mean that. But I don't care anymore. I really don't. It's a beautiful thing to not care. I spent a lot of my life living in the past. And then I got sober and I started to spend a lot of time living in the future. Neither of those work very well for me. Right now, I'm living in the moment. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little fired up about next Thursday, but I'm trying to stay centered, grounded, and living in the moment. And you know something? It's changing my life. And I'm willing to say things like, you know what? There are shows I do that suck. This morning's not one of my better. I threw something at a cat this morning. Not trying to hit the cat, but trying to get the cat to stop doing something it was doing that was driving me nuts. Wasn't one of my better mornings. And I'm going to have those days. They're not all going to be good. You do 2 hours a day, 365 days a year, you're going to have a couple of the dog crap. But you know something? The chat never is. For real. I got off of that chat and that show today, and I went, man, I let people down today. This was horrible. And then I got an email from someone that said, the chat changed me this morning. Right place, right time. Right? I'm along for the ride. I'm telling you, that's what's happening. I'm very disturbed by the mass shootings and people killing family members lately. I'm alarmed because it's on the news cycle. Well, and every time it happens, they say it's scary because we may be looking at copycats. Well, keep talking about that and see what happens. The cat moment was just real life. Stop being so heavy on yourself. Well, thank you. You know what? Here's the thing. I wouldn't want anybody to think I was throwing it at the cat. I'd rather die than do anything to the cat. I don't want to scare him either. But what was happening was one cat was ganging up on the other pretty badly. And normally they don't do that. It's sort of a back and forth. It looked kind of ugly this morning and it was bumming me out. And I kind of had to make it stop. And sadly, I think all I did was scare the chat and both of my cats. It's been a lifetime of trauma. You know what, Blitz? For most of us, it has been a lifetime of trauma. I'm not making light of anybody's in particular. But there's a reason we all end up here, right? I mean, you could be watching, cat videos. There's a reason everybody ends up here. Sean is a crazy story. Went from one of the top ex-dealers in the world to inside one of the worst prison camps in the world to being a great teacher for youth and an advocate for victims. I'll tell you what, contrarian barbarian. I have met so many fantastic people from the stuff that I did on the Sean Atwood program, and you're absolutely right. Sean is a warrior for good. He truthfully is. I love what Sean does, and we have a great relationship to this day. He supported me through the bad times, and I said to him, "I'm not coming by because I'm not going to bring the hate that's coming to me to your channel." But he has been nothing but a support through everything. I love Sean, always will. He's an absolutely great human being. You thought I threw something at Johnny for being a smartass? No, man. Johnny can fight. I don't want any part of that. No, it was. I'm not going to say which cat it was, but if my cat was winning, I probably wouldn't have thrown anything. I would have, but it wasn't my cat. The problem with the Maine Coon cat is she's still a kitten, and she's almost like 1.5 times bigger than Squirrel. And in all of the times that we've had her, I've only seen twice where I thought, you know what, this isn't cool anymore. And it was kind of like that this morning. And you know, it was probably on me because I don't think Squirrel never looks flustered, but it was out of the corner of my eye and it was making it so that I couldn't think. No, that one was on me though. Not gonna lie, my little fur baby will want to get off the couch. And then when I put her down on the floor, she looks at me like, why'd you put me on the floor? Yeah, Jamie Palmer, I'll tell you something. You've never seen a cat that can work anybody like Squirrel works me. It's one of the most unbelievable things on earth. If I want her in here, all I have to do is go, oh, what a good kitty. Like I'm petting the Maine Coon cat. Like I'm petting Johnny's cat. I'm not joking. She can, from here to the back of our apartment is like 140 feet. It's huge because it's like, it's narrow and it goes back a really long way. And she can be in the closet, right? On the linen closet, in there just sort of chilling out. And I can go, oh, Katie, you're such a good kitty. And she will come running into the room like, you are petting that cat? I'm not joking. Yes, absolutely. My sponsor taught me to write everything down daily and then meditate, learn from it, and make myself better for myself and for humanity. If tomorrow comes, I'm a better man when the journal book is full. And I'll tell you something. I am an advocate like no one you will ever meet. You will get more cat in the basket. In fact, it's a spoiler alert. I shouldn't do it, but there's going to be a new outro that's coming, and it is 2 cats in the basket. These guys got in the basket at the exact same time, and I didn't want to pick it up. I didn't want to do anything, so I filmed it. I went around and I said, this is, I'm Tommy Scoville, and this is 2 cats in a basket. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen, and we're probably going to make it the outro. So you're going to get a lot more cat in the basket. I promise you are. The journaling thing is unbelievable. Squirrel does not tolerate cheating. Squirrel doesn't tolerate anything. I'm telling you. She is a furry girlfriend. If jealous, forget about it. I mean, she is one of those cats that, I have come to the conclusion that, Squirrel is runs this household, and I am here to make her happy. I've probably told everybody, we've talked about this, but I'm cooking an awful lot of steak, right? And when I cook steak, Squirrel comes and gets on the table next to the plate and looks at me like, let's do this. And not only do I have to cut steak for my cat, but she will not eat it if I put it on the floor. She won't eat it if I put it on the plate. I have to hold it, and she will take it out of my hands. And if I let her, she'll eat half the steak. Now, Johnny's cat, you just take it, throw it anywhere, the cat will go and get it. But Squirrel is the most spoiled animal in the world. And if I don't hand feed her, she will pout and not let me pet her and run away from me and do it for a day or 2. Absolutely unbelievable. I want everyone, and I do mean everybody, to try to get into to the journaling stuff in the morning. I am going to play with some time slots. I may, believe it or not, I may end up doing a 3rd show once in a while because I would like to play with when we do this. More people need to do the journaling shows, I promise you. But I'll do some stuff on Epstein at night, and I will tackle subjects that I think are affecting our ability to live our best lives. I think Epstein's doing that for a lot of people. Currently in the United States of America, more people are concentrating on that than almost anything. And it's wild to me. Cindy G, I'll probably be doing it a little bit later. I'm still going to do the early show, but I will be doing another one a little bit later for people that aren't able to catch that live. I was always kind of the mindset of, well, you can always catch it later. But the thing is, it's not what I'm talking about as much as it's the chat. So I would really love to give people an opportunity to get in there and be around each other. When the love boat, is clicking, it's more of a group therapy than anything else. And I am a proponent, by the way, a massive proponent of therapy. I believe in therapy like no one else on earth does. Some of the greatest things that have ever happened to me in my life have happened through therapists. However, you want to turbocharge your therapy, show up with your journal and watch what happens with you and your therapist. I mean it. You will have you will have epiphanies of biblical proportion because you have the chance to go back and look at different things. I love the early show with a new dog added to our pack. We're up stupid early. Well, good. I will absolutely still keep doing the early show. It works for me. I love that time slot. I really do. But more is better. I believe that. Ann says therapy was an absolute life changer for me. I'm telling you, turbocharge that with a journal and it will change your life. I believe you are doing God's work. My name is changed, but this is Rob McMullen. Rob, good to see you, man. Glad that you are here. I really am happy you are here, man. Good to see you. I remember Rob well. Yeah, therapy is a life changer for anybody willing to do it. I give mine a family tree. He was shocked. I love it. I love it. I love it. People, I'm going to end this one a little bit early, and I'll tell you why. I have made an arrangement where I am going to be doing good as often as possible. And there is a person that I am working with one-on-one that I have really high hopes for this individual's recovery. I haven't done this in a long time, but I have talked to 4 or 5 people that I'm doing some personal stuff with. Nova is an absolutely fantastic name, Contrarian. Nova is a fantastic name, but I'm not going to leave this person hanging. I am going to be doing a call with them at 10. So I got to 10 my time. So I got to be ready to do this. But between now and tomorrow morning, do yourself a favor, right? Put a little love in your heart. We were talking this morning about what is happiness. And I promise you it's a choice. So is beauty, right? You're not born beautiful. You can be born symmetrical. Hold on one second. Just got to make sure this isn't my kid. Yeah, you can be born symmetrical, right? With all of the different things that's supposed to make you attractive. But beautiful is a choice that people make every single day. This is a country full of beautiful people. They get up every day and they are the happiest people you will ever meet. I am going to go kick Johnny in the shins. You have my word. You know what? He has an awful lot of stuff in his eyes. Carlos, you're a part of this family. And if you come back tomorrow and you got a buzz on, you're still part of this family, right? You will always belong here. Anybody that shows up every day and does it with a positive attitude, I don't judge people for getting high. I don't judge people for relapsing. I judge people for quitting. I do. You know, people that continue to get back up, I've got respect for that more than anything in the world. When Nelson Mandela was given the Nobel Prize, right? He was given the Nobel Peace Prize. And when he got up to make a speech, Dana asked, good to see you. When he got up to make a speech, he said, I hope you're not giving this to me because I became the president of South Africa. I hope you're giving this to me for how many times I got back up. Man spent 27 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And then when they let him out and he became president, he invited prison guards that used to guard him to his inauguration. We could all be a little bit kinder, right? Wouldn't be such a bad place. All right, folks, I got to go make a phone call. I got 2 minutes left. Between now and tomorrow morning, put a little love in your heart. I'm Tommy. This is The Love Boat. I love you guys. We'll see you on the next one. God bless.